GM. GM, 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 GM. So I want to look at fuck fellow. I'm gonna look at Coinalyze. I'm gonna look at BTC open interest since the lows over here. So since bottom down there, open interest has risen by 3%. Price at the same time since, where was the low? It was over here. Price is up by 3%. So it's about in line. I wouldn't say there's any major speculative positioning coming in, but you can see price action quite clearly is weak. We had a sweep. We've had a structure break. We're having like a retest forming here, which I would expect to go lower. So there is a trade, and it is very simple. It's the trade I mentioned before with the old value area high, as I mentioned on BTC. So we moved up into it last night. I said I was going to wait because it was going into the weekend and price was pushing higher. We found resistance. We then had a deep sell-off. We're now having another sideways correction bounce back up to the value area high. And I feel pretty confident here that BTC will set up a double confirmation retest for us to potentially trade. Now, with the move up itself, I'll be looking at a similar, so from the low into this rally up. I would like to see, in an ideal world, I would like to see a clean sweep of this high. Would be what I'm looking for in terms of an entry. We're looking for price to sweep that high, come back down, break structure, and then fail at the double confluence of value areas. You see this? The value area of the move it's just had from the lows is here, and up here, and the value area of the wider range is all the way over there. So I would like to see something like that. And when you take that off and you just look at price action. So for this to be a bearish retest, we've had the push up, we've had the initial sell off. That could just be selling off into a higher low before we have another push. So that's why I wouldn't short it here. Even though it's retesting this value area high again quite nicely, I wouldn't short it right now because I wouldn't feel confident putting my stop there. I think that can get hit very easily. And in my own system results and from the data I have, when you have when you have a retest like this, when you have a retest of a level and it sells off initially, there's a high probability that that initial high gets swept. This is the very basic concept of that's every over under, right? You have that initial high, people short that, it gets swept, then it breaks down, and so you have to wait for the next test, which is what I'm waiting for. And because you can't, if I short it here, right? So if I were to short here, the target is the value area low, which is down here. It's at that point there. And to put your stop above the high, where it's definitely going to be safe, right? If it's bearish, you're definitely safe there. But that gives you a pretty unfavorable risk reward. And if you put the stop here, you get a great RR, but very high probability of getting stopped out. Also, you can see that there is a bigger sort of over-under going on where you have a high, you sweep the high, you break the structure, so it sets a high, sets a low, sweeps it, breaks that structure, comes back up. So you can see price coming anywhere up into here. It could even have a strong spike up. So what I'm looking to do here, and why I'm not touching it yet at this point, is because if it does go all the way up into there, guess what? Well, then it's outside the value area high. So I have no interest in trading that. Right? I don't want to be long under those circumstances, or short, sorry. under those circumstances. I would actually almost want to be long. So what I'm waiting for is another attempt and then a failure, fall back inside. And at that point, once you see some weakness down here, a short can present with a clear invalidation at the highs. Once it's broken down into that area, and then your target's all the way to the very low, and you could probably even have anything from a 3, 2.5 to 3.5, maybe a 4 hour. So I'm waiting on that, and the other confirmation that it could do for this would be if this value area high is testing bearish right now, which we're seeing. If that is going to hold, then you want to see this break down like that, fail the retest there, and that would be another way for it to get in right away. So I'd be watching for Bitcoin. To go below here, and I'm watching for Bitcoin to go above here. They're the two areas I'm watching. If either of them sets up as a trigger, I'll take the trade. I'll let you know. GM.